Hi, welcome. I'm Dr. Sarah, and today I'd like to take a deeper dive with Om Purnamadah, Purnamadam, and I'd like to share my understanding of this ancient mantra prayer and how I integrate it clinically, specifically when we're talking about trauma or just change in general, change, transformation, growth, that kind of thing. So before we jump in, let us continue with our gratitude ritual. So, an invitation to let the eyes be soft, taking a few deep breaths. And then speaking our gratitude aloud, using our voices. I'm feeling especially grateful for plants. Yeah, I'm drinking some really nice tea made from purple dead nettle from my yard. And I'm just so grateful for all of the plants and all of the nourishment they provide, oxygen and beauty and medicine and food. So thank you, plant friends. Mm-hmm. And always feel free to pause the video and spend as much time with this gratitude practice as feels good for you each particular day. Yeah, it's really special medicine, gratitude. Mm-hmm. So let's jump in. So Om Purnamadah, Purnamadam is a very, very old prayer that is from the Upanishads, a Vedic text. And there's a previous video if you'd like more info and experience with this practice. And the translation can be translated as whole, total, perfect, or complete. And the idea of this prayer is an acknowledgement and celebration that we and everything around us is always whole, total, perfect, and complete. And this can be an uncomfortable perspective to be with sometimes. So I want to honor that and explore it a little bit more. So I'll start by sharing a little bit about my personal experience. I had some friction with this particular mantra that came up pretty strongly for me about 3 years ago, I think it was now. And I was at a place in my journey where I was very deeply feeling the grief and the pain of our Mother Earth. And it was really intense for me. It was a very beautiful, perfect, powerful piece of my journey. I have deep gratitude for that experience, and it was really hard at the time. I remember reading Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer at that time, and my heart was just breaking over and over and over again as I delved deeper and deeper into awareness of the pain and the hurt that we as human beings have inflicted and continue to inflict on our mother. Yeah, it was challenging. I can remember going to the grocery store and leaving without buying a single thing because everywhere I looked, there was plastic packaging everywhere. And it was a beautiful part of my journey for many reasons. And one piece of that puzzle was I was able to hone in on this deep grief about loss of like my ancestral knowledge of how to live in good relationship and reciprocity with the earth. And I was so upset about that. And I took that energy, that emotion, and sat with it and took action. And that's what led me to enroll in a 8-month Earth Skills and Permaculture Immersion program with Wild Abundance. And that was a whole nother journey. So during this time of grief for the earth, I was having a very hard time with Om Purnamadah, Purnamadam. And I went to a Sangha with my teacher's teacher, Shanti Mai, and I brought that to her. I said, I don't understand how what we are doing to the earth and what we have been doing to the earth is perfect and whole and total and complete. It's not okay. How do I reconcile this? How can I understand this? And what I received from her was that this prayer, Om Purnamadah Purnamadam, came from very wise, special, for lack of a better word, sages. And this is a very, very zoomed out perspective on the whole totality of existence. And this is so important. This is not a stagnant perfection. This is an ever moving, changing, evolving perfection, wholeness, completeness, existence. So any emotion that I was feeling about the earth is part of that perfection. And any action that I was choosing to take was also part of that perfection. So it's about the journey, and it's about how these awful, challenging, painful experiences happen. And what we choose and how we evolve and how we grow through these experiences is part of that. So, particularly when we're talking about trauma, and we all have experienced our own versions of trauma in our lives. This takes many, many shapes and forms, changes us, it shapes us. And in the Yoga Sutra, this is the tapas, the fires of transformation that shape us, that burn stuff away, create space for new growth, right? When the forests are in natural cycle, there is burning and there is ash, and the ash is nourishing the new growth, right? So it's part of this beautiful wholeness that can be really hard to see when we're in the middle of that fire, right? So this is a really beautiful practice to remind us that both are true. Um, yeah. So shifting a little bit into more like clinical psychology integration and this idea of how our desires to change are also part of the whole total perfect journey. So when we talk about how trauma shapes us in Western psychology, the term that is used is post traumatic growth. So this is a clinical term. This is taught in doctoral programs. So this is not a foreign idea. Om Purnamadah just feels like a really beautiful way of acknowledging that. And this idea that both are true. When we're in the fires and it's awful and it's hard and it's painful and it's all of the things, that is true. That is real. And we can zoom out and understand that Om Purnamadah is also true. The totality of the journey, the completeness of the journey. And that we're just in this little snapshot of it that is really hard in this moment. So this ability to hold both things is like DBT in a nutshell, dialectical behavioral therapy, right? It's this idea that we can, the practice of holding two seemingly opposing truths that in fact are not. They're both true. And having developing this ability to hold both, to be with both, is incredibly healing and helpful. Yeah. So, as we talk about how challenges shape and change us, let's move into talking about change, transformation, growth, evolution, shedding, lots of different words that resonate. And as we have a desire to shift something, people often come to me, come to therapy, come to coaching with a desire to be different, to show up differently, to experience something differently. And that is beautiful. That desire for shift is perfect. And the way that we have been doing something that maybe isn't serving or we're not wanting as much anymore, it's important to acknowledge that that is also perfect and total and complete and contributing to the wholeness of your journey. So, one moment. Thank you. So, let me collect my thoughts for a moment. So, something that I always want to be really clear about, and perhaps this is an example of where I might challenge a little bit some concepts from Western psychology, is sometimes when somebody comes in and wants to change something or work on something, there's this like spoken or non-spoken judgment that the way they've been doing something is wrong or bad. And, a word phrases that are coming to mind in this moment are in grad school, we would talk about maladaptive behaviors or irrational thoughts. And from the perspective of Om Purnamadah, those patterns and those thoughts are part of the wholeness and the completeness. And the desire to shift them is also part of it. And then whatever happens next is also part of it. And it's so important to not demonize or judge what was happening before or what is happening now, the thing that maybe doesn't feel as supportive as it used to. So, every pattern, every thought process, whatever it is, was adaptive at some point in time, or it wouldn't be here. And it could be something, a thought that's just totally off the wall and makes no sense, and it's still adaptive. And how I understand that is because the thinking mind's purpose is to think and to understand and to make meaning of things. So sometimes the meaning doesn't make sense, but it is the thinking mind trying to understand something that is happening in the body, is happening on a different level, happened in a different lifetime, whatever it is. So there's always an adaptive, protective, self-preservation, survival mechanism to whatever it is that we have experienced. And the beauty is that we don't have to understand where it came from. We can just acknowledge it, honor it. I see you, I hear you. I'm choosing to try something different now. You're not wrong, you're not bad. You are part of the perfection. Whatever it is, this thing that we don't want to maybe continue in the exact same way. Yeah. So, it's just so important to honor all of our experiences as real and valid. And we get to make choices about going forward. And that is also part of Om Purnamadah. Purnamadam is the actions that we choose to take for ourselves and for the earth and for others. All of it. Yeah. And I think the last piece that feels important to address or to acknowledge is that when people do come in with this self-judgment or this demonizing of parts of themselves or the story that like I'm broken, I'm not whole, all of this comes from the mind, right? It's all coming from the mind. So what I love about all of these practices that I am so honored to come on to the internet and share with you, singing and chanting and praying and mindful movement, yoga asana, breathing, meditation, earth connection, all of this stuff takes us out of the mind into the body, into the heart, into the spirit. And that is where so much healing happens. That is where the healing happens. And it's really beautiful, when we when we get into the heart, when we get into the nervous system, recalibrating the nervous system in the body, the mind works itself out. It really does. Because the mind's just trying to understand what's happening in all the other things, all the other areas and realms. So, oh, I'm just remembering my dear friend Mayan has this beautiful song about getting out of my mind. And maybe one day I'll get her to come share that. That would be really special. So, yeah, getting out of our minds into our hearts, into our bodies. Mm-hmm. Let's maybe just sing a little bit Om Purnamadah just a few times to kind of wrap things up. Om Purnamadah, Purnamidam, Purnats Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnam Ivavashishate. Om Purnamadah, Purnamidam, Purnats Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnam Ivavashishate. So many blessings on your journey, your whole, total, perfect, and complete journey. You are whole, total, perfect, and complete in each and every moment, in each and every phase of your evolution. It does not make the hard things not hard. It does not make the awful things not awful, the sad things not sad. It does not change our experience. Our experience is real and valid and true. And each experience is a piece of the wholeness, totality, perfection, and completeness of yourself and the world and existence. Thank you so much. It is an absolute honor